Good day to you, sir.
Yo. Great to see you. New look for the intro.
Well, second week.
I don't remember. But week 2.
It was there. Week 2. Starting a streak just to cancel the streak. Start a new streak. Streaks are good. What's on your mind? What's on your mind, pal?
Dude, looking forward to another show. It's just a short week coming off of Memorial Day on Monday.
Yes.
So like the unofficial start of summer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess that's true. I don't know what day of the week it is. I told my wife, I said, I'm not going to know until Monday. So I thought it was Tuesday yesterday. Then I was like, wait, I woke up thinking it was Friday. And I was like, wait, have I done the show yet? Yeah,
That is one good thing about us doing the show. This is like 5 years in our 5th year that it's a reset for us that if by doing the show on Thursdays at 11 a.m. when we record them, that helps ground us. Am I right?
No, this is year 6.
Oh my. All right. Well, year
right?
6.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah. Okay.
Congratulations, Tim. We've made it. Episode 263 of this.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because
show.
if it was, if we were still in year 5, we would, it would be 250.
Had we started, in 21, I guess. But we took the 0 year and got this thing started during the old Coco days.
Congrats to us.
Cheers.
And it's a very, very select few of people that we've had on more than once.
And sometimes we've had it on multiple times and we shouldn't have. I'm talking to you, Scott Janney.
But yeah, so I think that it's pretty cool that we have a platform that 4 founders, 4 movers and shakers that they can tell their story. And yeah, we've had a lot of different people.
Yeah. Today's guest, we met 15 minutes ago via Lauren Craylow, who was a previous guest a couple weeks ago, the LinkedIn guru. She was. Now we have the staffing guru, allegedly at this point. We'll confirm that title in about 5 or 10 minutes. But Ravi, what's going on? Pleasure to meet you.
Likewise, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited to do this. It's my second one, so yeah. I'm excited to
see. I like what you said there. Second one, not your first. Tim thinking that, well, maybe we could just get into this.
Yeah.
Does a podcast have to be audio only on like an audio platform like a Spotify or an Apple or something like that? Or can a LinkedIn Live also be a podcast? What is the overall thoughts here? Tim's like, no, it's not. So he thinks you're a rookie.
It lives on LinkedIn. And so you can't like download it to your Apple iPod and cast it off on device.
Who still has an iPod? Do they even make those things anymore?
Well, that's where the whole naming convention of podcast came from, because it was put on your Apple iPod so that you could.
Okay, that's interesting. So I know we haven't let you speak a lot yet, Robbie, but like, do you know how hard it was to put like technology is so easy now. Like, I don't think people get this. Like, to start a podcast in even like 2010, it was a monstrosity of a project. 2015, a little bit easier. Like, just all of these tools to make all of our lives easier. It's just, and then you got the robots who are just going to do everything for everyone, which that's a good or bad thing,
Well, and I look forward to getting into that with Ravi as well, because he has an interesting world. But
yeah,
one of Hampton Roads' newest residents, no?
Yes, definitely. Been here. We bought a house in February here in Norfolk, and my wife and I were living all over the world for the past 4 years: Peru, Mexico, Spain, you name it. And
so listen to that.
Yeah, before that, Baltimore.
Hampton Roads.
Yeah.
Ravi and his wife could live anywhere in the world, and they chose to live here.
I mean, we have a beautiful little creek home, is what I like to call it. I mean, my view is, I'm looking at my view right now, and it's just spectacular, to be quite honest.
So you know 7 languages, but I'm interested in how many different ways have you pronounced Norfolk?
It's funny, we were talking about this with my wife a couple of days ago because we had dinner with her aunts, and they say something along the lines of Norfolk or something like that. I say Norfolk.
I always like the people that say Norfolk.
Norfolk, Norfolk, like it's there's a lot of them. Portsmouth is not Portsmouth.
Yep, yeah, I figured that one.
Suffolk.
Yep, so Suffolk is Suffolk. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of weird things.
What's the right way to say it then?
I don't think anyone knows.
Okay.
Well, we know the way not to say it is Norfolk. I mean, that is the dead giveaway. Everything else, I mean,
I think I say Norfolk.
I say Norfolk.
I think the OGs really do think it's Norfolk.
That's exactly how her aunts pronounce it. And it's kind of like Baltimore, right? A lot of people say Balmer.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of The Wire, I mean, you can go, we were talking about The Wire earlier on, and you can go and realize that some of the older detectives call it Balmer.
Huh.
Is that because the L and the T are soft?
Kind of.
Is that?
Huh. Yeah, it's like a lot of the Baltimore accent. You can also, instead of saying washer, they say washer. So that's
interesting. Okay, so you have a staffing agency to help businesses all across the world facilitate talent. Like that dialect is something that I believe most companies struggle immensely with, being able to talk the person who they're trying to hire's language, right? You see it big time in the tech world where people are trying to hire someone overseas or that doesn't speak, the native English language, if you will. And so what they think they're getting isn't what actually comes in return. So like, how important is that communication aspect in what you do? Because I've just heard horror stories over the years, as Tim has as well, with just like, this isn't what I asked for. Why would I pay you more money? Yeah, it was cheaper than what I would have gotten in America, but I got nothing. So how important is communication?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's very important, and I think that there are a few key differences from what we do versus maybe somebody else, and that is that we have the talent that we bring on is their English is going to sound close to native, and they're going to have excellent written skills. I mean, I was born and raised in Peru, and I sound like what I sound like. I might have a slight accent, but the reality is that Latin America is culturally very much close to what the U.S. is. It's for the most part the same time zone. Cultural sensitivity is the exact same for customer service or clients or admin. We grow up with American television. There's just so many similarities between the nearshoring, is what we like to call it, and the U.S. that communication it really hasn't been an issue. We have over 100 people staffed, and we have all the way from admins to property managers to software developers, and communication has really not been an issue. It's something we do well. I think that there's a big chunk of folks that we can recruit that are going to have 9.5 out of 10 in English. And I nothing against the Philippines or India. I have Indian descent, and that is definitely a barrier, right? Because the accent is there, but not only just the accent, but also the understanding of what the U.S. client wants. So I think what you're talking about is what used to happen in this space or continues to happen, but in different geographies. We specialize in my home country, Peru and Mexico, which are countries that you can, now the talent is essentially, they sound native. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, to be quite honest.
How do you define nearshoring? It's an interesting term. What is your definition of that?
Yeah, usually Latin America, same time zone or an hour off, basically, and that's what we call nearshoring. Anything cross Atlantic, to us, that's no longer nearshoring, right? So Mexico all the way down to Chile, Argentina, but we primarily focus on my home country, which is Peru, and then Mexico.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting. Some companies like having India 12 and a half hour difference. I never understand the half an hour part of that, but just so they could be working when you're sleeping. I'm of the mindset. I like the nearshoring aspect of if I'm working, I want to know I can reach out and touch somebody because we're in the same time zone or within an hour.
Yeah. Some people. So the accounting world is a lot like what you mentioned. People working around the clock, especially during tax season. So you have. I mean, I'd be pretty. It's pretty safe to say that 60 to 70% of U.S. taxes, individuals, commercial investors, whatever you think of, is being done in India. Like companies from Accenture to Ernst and Young, all the way down to like small mom and pop shops. They are sending your taxes to India, and your taxes are being done all the way until the point that the CPA signs. They're being done abroad. And for that particular type of industry, working while you're sleeping and you come back and all the information is gathered for your W-2 or your 1099 or whatever, and the CPA just reviews and signs, that works. I think. Now there are we have a few clients that are in the tax space, and they have sort of raised some quality control issues, or just a bit like bandwidth at this point, because so many people are doing it. So Latin America just becomes a really good option and a great hedge.
How does that work in terms of, so somebody just contacts you, and then do you handle all the back and forth in terms of to and from Peru with taxes and all that kind of stuff? So then from an accounting standpoint, it's just like, I have a contract with you in the United States footprint. I don't have to worry about anything.
That's exactly it. I mean, we are your service provider. You're paying us as professional services. We deploy someone for you 160 hours a month, so full time, but they're technically working for us, for Iris Global Staffing Services. We handle all international laws, all labor laws, all payroll, everything, HR as well, PTO tracking, all that is handled by us internally. For all effect and purposes, you have a full-time employee, but you don't have all the liability that comes with it when you have an international employee or just a local employee.
Specialties in
any
industries?
verticals that
That's a great question. I have a property management company. We manage 400 units in Baltimore County and Illinois County. So we started staffing property managers, realtors, brokerages, but now we do literally almost every small business, any position, accounting, admin, like I said, property manager, transaction coordinators, bookkeepers, software developers. So we've gone really wide in terms of what we can cover, just because the talent is so strong in Peru. Quick anecdote about Peru: a guy from Baltimore by the name of Doug Becker, he started a company called Laureate International Education. I actually used to work for them in the FP&A department, and they invested millions and millions of dollars in private education in Peru, Mexico, and really all over the world. But Peru and Mexico are their largest investments, which the only two that they still have. And the outcome of that is you can see it now, is that most Peruvian and Mexican folks that graduate from a Laureate University have a U.S. education. Essentially, they know GAAP accounting. They really are very much equivalent to if you were to have graduated from University of Maryland. So we definitely recruit from those universities as well. And yeah, I mean, that's why I think the talent that we bring on is pretty much equivalent to anyone that you could hire locally, just at a third of the cost.
Yeah, is there contractually, is there like, what's the typical length when someone reaches out to you in terms of what that term of employment would be?
Yeah, it's 3 months trial, 9-month renewal. So, but at any point, if you don't think that it's working out, you give us a 2-week notice and that's it. So we recommend a 3-month trial, just because the onboarding, the training, that's what we advise our clients. Give them 3 months and see how, just like any employee, right? Any employee that you were to hire here, it's just essentially the same, except that we have the cost advantage. And I would even go as far as to say that work ethic, I mean, it's getting harder and harder to find folks that want to be committed to a company for 3, 4, 5 years. My property management company has 10 Peruvian remote workers. My COO is Peruvian, and he handles everything. You would think property management is impossible to do from abroad, but the reality is most of the work is done on the computer: compliance, maintenance, coordination, listings, all of that.
Interesting. Is that like in terms of like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You know, like you establish a schedule in terms of when things need to be done, what things need to happen, and then it just takes the one person, boots on the ground, so to speak, to go and do the things that need to be done.
Exactly. And in property management, if you really think of it, the listing is done by a realtor. So you can just list it on the MLS, and the realtor on the buy side is really showing the property. If you want to go that way, you can have your own boots on the ground. And in terms of maintenance, it's third-party vendors for the most part. You don't have your own, like if you're a smaller property management shop, you're not doing your own repairs. Somebody else is doing, you're paying them, and the owner is paying for it. So really, this sounds crazy, but you can run a property management company fully with remote workers and just have a competitive advantage that no one else could have, because your labor, like the main cost of a business service is labor, and we provide excellent labor with incredible work ethic, fluent in English, great writing skills, educated. That's just gonna make your company more successful.
Honeymoon phase, I feel like takes 2-3 months, so that ramp up for you, that makes a lot of sense. You use the word work ethic.
Yes.
Like a lot of companies, I feel like they complain about it a lot more now over the last 5 years. I don't know if it's really any different, but it seems like since COVID, people are using that as more of a mechanism, as a reason why they can't find talent. How are you putting these potential candidates through the work ethic meter to determine if they have the chops or not, to the liking of you and then to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and I think you're right. A lot of people have been talking about sort of, oh, I can't find talent that wants to work long term, or they just want everything quote unquote handed to them. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'll start by telling a little bit of my story. I came here when I was 17 years old, and my first job out of college was at Morgan Stanley, and to me, that was a dream. I think the opportunities that this country has to offer are just exceptional. I've lived in Spain and Mexico and Peru. I've done assignments with the United Nations in East Africa. I just don't think that there's, this is coming from a foreigner, I don't think that there is a single country in this world that offers the accessibility to capital that the U.S. has, the support when it comes to entrepreneurship. Spain shuts you down immediately. They're not very pro entrepreneurship, and they don't support that. So all this is to say that when it comes to our talent, what we look for is longevity. Like, we want to make sure that they have stayed at the jobs for a long term, and we do a video interview that we present to our clients as well, where we gauge how much due diligence they've done of the company. And for the most part, I would say 90% of our candidates are seeking for a long-term career, stability, getting paid in USD, which is, doesn't fluctuate as a Mexican peso, for instance, or Peruvian sol is pretty stable. But all this is to say that the folks that we bring from Peru, especially in Mexico, they want this opportunity. They are grateful to have a job where they're going to be valued, where they're going to find stability, and even things like getting paid on time. That's a big thing in Latin America. You have companies that are massive that didn't pay their employees in the 90s for 3-4 years straight. You have soccer teams that didn't pay the players. I mean, that is a thing in Latin America. And the last thing is remote. Like, them being in front of a computer at their houses is a huge advantage, because Lima is a 9 million people city. Essentially, it's like the size of New York, and commuting 6 kilometers, which is 2.5 miles or so, will take you an hour and a half, 2 hours each way. So all those things sort of brew up to be a perfect match with employers here in the U.S. They want someone that's committed, they want someone that's loyal, they want someone that's going to show up every day, and then it's going to be a mutually beneficial relationship where all parties are going to benefit. So I think that's what we do really well, is that we find the talent in Latin America that's going to be a really good fit for our clients in the U.S. And we have a 93% retention, which is, for over 100 employees in 4 years in the business, it's really unheard of. And another thing, and lastly, is that we're direct recruiters. So we know these people. Like, my COO is my cousin, and his father is my compliance analyst, and his friend is my maintenance coordinator. So this all are relationships that we've sort of cultivated since we were growing up. A lot of these people we know, and in fact we see every year. We go down to Peru, we go down to Mexico, and yeah, I think that definitely helps the the loyalty and stability and the want to showing up every day and help our clients succeed.
What's the backstory on how you landed a job with Morgan Stanley?
Yeah, that's good. It's funny. They would not give me. They didn't. They wouldn't. They were not willing to interview me. Essentially, I sent my resume many times, and I just literally went and sat at the lobby, and I looked for the guy that was sort of the big hot shot, and I knew what he looked like, and I said, "Hey Jim, if you give me an opportunity, I'll outwork anybody in your team ever." And then he literally took me upstairs on the 11th floor, 950 South Exeter Street in Baltimore City, and he hired me. And he asked me a couple of questions about discounted cash flows, and I answered them because I had a finance degree from the University of Maryland. And yeah, he gave me a shot, and I'm very grateful for it. I still keep in touch with all those guys and his team. And ironically, a couple of years later, I was just hopping on the elevator, and this woman, said hello to me in Spanish, and I said, "Oh, how did you know I speak Spanish?" She was like, "Oh, I assumed you worked for Laureate." And I said, "No, I work for Morgan Stanley on the 11th floor." And she said, "Well, we're looking for a Spanish-speaking analyst to cover Latin America because I'm moving to Miami and they need someone to cover." And it's like, "Well, no, I work for Morgan Stanley," and I kind of told her what my salary was, and she said, "Well, we'll double it because we're funded by KKR." And I said, "Oh, okay. I'm 24 years old. I really need to consider this." So that's kind of how I ended up at Laureate.
Wow. So that's two shows in the last month, Zach, where people were not willing to leave until they were offered a position. Shout out to Christian Green from Virginia Beach.
I think you got to raise your damn hand too, right? Don't be afraid to ask, because you never know what can happen from that. And if you don't get the answer that you want, figure out why. And maybe you could still turn that into a yes. I feel like people they're afraid to ask. Like even you were very defensive at first. Like, nah, I'm loyal. And then it was like,
well, and it's,
yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know what has gone on with society in the sense of why people, it seems like people don't believe in themselves as much as they used to before.
That's parenting.
Think so?
Yes, everything comes down to parents. I just
yeah, from that standpoint, I'm super proud. We raised our kids thinking that they could accomplish anything they want to, and yeah. So,
well, remember I basically asked this question to Jason Calacanis at Start Peninsula in 2018. I was like, "Hey, how do your kids have whatever they want because you're a very wealthy individual?" Right? He's known as Ravi, Jason Calacanis. I don't know if you know him, but he's known as the greatest angel investor of our times, maybe of all time. Right? Wow. Invested in things like Uber, Calm.com, several other things, and very early in those companies. Thumbtack. And I was like, you got a couple of kids. I think he has 2 kids. They basically have access to any, I would think anything because of that. How do you teach them? He's like, well, you still gotta teach them to want it and to crawl. He said something like crawling up a mountain, right? When it gets tough, that doesn't mean we're just going to go back down. We're going to keep going up. And I think instilling that is parenting, right? It's like, okay, just because something isn't going great doesn't mean baby someone. It's like, no, lead them to that and show them that they have the ability to do whatever they want. Maybe not become an NBA basketball player, but heck, maybe an NBA basketball player, gamer, or an analyst, or who knows? But I think it's all about leading.
Good point. I'm not a father, so I'm not in those shoes. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I've never ever told my kids that they can't do anything. It's like, hey man, the world is yours. You just need to go after it and make it happen. And I'm the same way with founders too. The different founders that I talk to, I'm not the one to tell them that they can't be successful at anything that they do.
Yeah.
I just think back to just on this point, I moved here in 2007. I worked for a TV station for 3 years. And then I got out into the business world and knew no one. I had one relationship from someone that I'd worked with at the TV station, and I known that his family had their own PR agency. I reached out to them. They said, yes, we're talking about the Rubin family.
Yeah.
I don't know if you met them yet. But then okay, that opened the door. It's like, oh, okay, like they're pretty well-known people. They said yes. That's nice. They opened the door. Nothing ever happened between it, but it gave me this sense of like, oh, okay, like it was like it was like I shot a shot, it went in. I was like, I could do that again. Right. And so to all these little steps led me to just like not being afraid to reach out to the biggest dogs in town. And sometimes they said yes. Sometimes they wrote checks. Sometimes they said shoe fly. But you know what? Like you just can't worry about the shoe flies. Like you just got to keep pushing. And I don't know why that is an advantage to me. I'm not afraid to be told no. But a lot of people are, because it's like, look, I interviewed Damon John. I said, what do you hear when you hear no in business? He goes, no is an absolute maybe. Like, figure out why. It boggles my mind.
The amount of people that have told like us no initially that then become clients a year later is absurd. Like, it, you know, because we know that it is like the maybe is definitely, I think it's very accurate. And I used to, my first job right out of college was at Morgan Stanley, was Edward Jones. And they, I mean, I don't know if there's a better sales training program in the world, but they really have it down. I mean, you door knock. It doesn't matter who you are, what your portfolio looks like, if you're going to be part of a team, but you door knock, and you door knock for 6 months straight. And it's like you get 9 no's, and then you get 1 yes, and then a couple of the no's turn into yeses. And yeah, ultimately you find yourself, you know, having a nice success rate there.
Yeah, and it's just it's turning that's hardening that scar tissue. Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure after the first few no's, you're like defeated, and you may have dreaded walking up to the next door and the next door and the next door. But
if the door says no loitering, not loitering, no soliciting. If the door says no soliciting, do you still knock?
That's a good question. I used to, and people would still open up, and I was so surprised. I mean, I was 22 years old. I was driving a 98 Camry. Like, why would anyone want to give me their like rollover IRA, let's say? And this woman, like, I caught her at the right time, and she was like, "Come on in," and she was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to give you $400,000 in a rollover IRA." And I'm thinking in my head, what year? I'm 22 years old, and you're just ready to transfer me? You're like, it was just the right place, right time, and she was ready to like fire her current advisor, and I was part of a bigger team, and we got the account, and I just couldn't believe it, but it happens.
Wow.
I wouldn't answer that door. And if I get DoorDash, I tell them to leave it at the door. So, you know, we ain't answering that damn door.
Yeah. Things are different now for sure. I mean, I think that has changed. That Edward Jones model, I don't know how successful they are now, but if you did the Edward Jones like sales boot camp, that is crazy. Like, they have modeled out houses within their headquarters where they measure every single thing you're doing. Oh, you need to be in a 45-degree angle so you're not threatening, or you need to take a step down if there's a staircase because you don't want to come off as threatening. You want to ask a bunch of open-ended questions, and they just do it so well that it's crazy. I think they might have the best sales training program I've ever been part of.
There's people in my neighborhood now, Tim. I don't know if you have these. They're on hoverboards, not the real hoverboards, like the ones with wheels.
The one wheels or whatever.
Yeah, they're like that's how they go door to door now. I see these guys flying down the road, no helmets. I'm like, you crazy? But efficiency, I guess.
How does that?
I did that.
How does that work? Do you have a quota of like how many doors you need to knock on each day, or is that self-policed?
No, it was self-policed, but you did have a quota. You had to write it down. You had to say what was the answer. The neighborhoods that they pick are very much aligned to where like the branch is. So like the branding, you know, so if you knock on the door and you say with Edward Jones, their brains are immediately going to go, oh, Edward Jones on 123 Main Street. Sure, right? I know who Edward Jones is. So yes, they do have a quota. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't really believe in it. I was more of a quantitative analytical person, but Edward Jones just gave me a shot to like get my licensings and stuff. And I knew one of the guys it was my brother's soccer coach back in the day. He was like, you can be part of my team. It didn't work. It ended up not working out because I just didn't really agree with their financial, like they didn't agree. I didn't agree with what they were doing with like front end mutual funds and charging a bunch So I parted ways with them, but yes, I will give it to them. They have
Yeah.
an incredible training program.
My little hack is I always make sure to look super quick at whatever the logo is, if the shirt or hat or that they're wearing. I'd be like, oh man, I just signed up with you like last month. Not you per se, but like, especially like going by the AT&T place at Costco. It's just like, may I ask who your cell phone provider is? Yeah, it's AT&T, dog. Yeah, thanks, man. Are you
Do you
already
have an AT&T? Are you an AT&T kind of guy?
No.
Or so you're a liar?
Well, don't bother me. I'm here to get my stuff. Or if you're knocking on my door, it's like, no, we're already a very happy customer of yours. Thanks so much, man. Go next door.
Yeah, that's a good way to get out of it for sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
But you're still a liar.
Well, it's just a little white lie, as they say.
So
what made you jump to start your own business then?
Yeah. And so I was working for Laureate, and I had a pretty like bad heartbreak in around 2016. So I would say a relationship, but not really. I mean, I really wanted to sort of I just wanted to travel indefinitely. So I said, I had been buying real estate since I was very young, 22, 23. And I had a goal. Whenever I had X amount coming in passive, I would quit my corporate job and sort of start traveling indefinitely. And that's what I did. And within the first 6 months, I did South America, and I decided to start a small sugar company. I fell in love with this product in Colombia. I brought it to Baltimore. We still have that company. We sell to like 10, 15 like high-end clients, and that's sort of where we've kept it. And yeah, everything started from there. I met my now business partner in the property management company about 7 years ago at a bar watching Peru qualify to the World Cup, which it basically never happened once in 36 years. So we ended up going to Russia together to watch Peru, and we've talked about it in Russia. And he said, I'm a realtor and I've seen your stuff in the Baltimore Business Journal. We should start a property management company because you have some real estate. I have some real estate. Let's make it small. And I said, absolutely not. I hate managing my own properties. And then he's like, no, like we'll have enough so that we can hire somebody eventually when we get to like 40 or 50 properties. And then that, prompted the staffing company. So it was really, to be quite honest, I wanted to start my business so that I could live my life on my own terms, like make my own time schedules, travel anywhere I wanted. So it was more like a lifestyle decision, to be quite frank.
He's on mute. He doesn't even know it. Tim is more so on mute these days. It's like every week now. I mean, like we got
as we know, it's just like, we have a signal going from my house over to Langley saying, "Oh, hey, Tim and Zach, they're live on the show. Let's launch the jets." And it just.
Do we need to rethink the 11 a.m. time for this? Do they ever stop?
It's the sound of freedom, baby. We just have to work around it.
There you go. I feel like no matter where you are in this region.
Yeah.
Super impressive with what you've been able to do and how you've been able to do it.
No, I appreciate it. And funny you talk about the Jets because I live right in front of the naval base off like near Granby Street. So we hear the big boys come in every single day. And I love it because I go kayaking and I could see the planes basically move me around. It's wild.
Oh, so you don't even have to like row because the plane's got enough. Got it.
I mean, you think it's a joke, but it actually it causes a ripple effect. Like
I wasn't thinking that. I was believing it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's
those bad boys. Like $25 million goes a long way with your kayaking ability.
They shake the house, guys. Like it's insane.
Oh yeah. We have where I live. We have a lot of helicopters that come over, and these suckers. Sometimes they are real low, and I'm like,
Yeah, we just had the Langley Air Show a couple weeks ago, maybe last month. I don't know, but the Thunderbirds would, as they're practicing or doing their show, they buzz the house in formation, and they'll wake you up in a hurry when you're not expecting it because it's just like out of nowhere.
Yeah. They're fun to watch, though. enjoy.
Yeah, you can't get tired of it, man. I mean, it is really, it's pretty special.
Yeah.
What's something that you learned in Bomber, aka Baltimore, that you'll never kind of forget from a business perspective that will really help you here and in other places?
Baltimore taught me resilience. Like
Tough city.
it's a very tough city. I mean, from looking over your shoulders when you're buying groceries to like always be alert, but never give up. I think I love Baltimore for that reason, and that's what it taught me. It taught me a lot of resilience. Just keep going, because eventually somebody will say, like the sugar company, right? We did really well with like bigger volume food manufacturers, but obviously the margins weren't there. But then one day, just Bar Clavel called me, and if you have not been to Bar Clavel, it's probably the best mezcaleria and the best tacos in the country. They just won a James Beard Award. They're incredible, and they said yes to us, and they're a great client, and they put us on their menu, and then from there our retail started to do really well. So yeah, I think that's what I learned from Baltimore or Balmer, and just resilience, and the fact that somebody will believe in you if you just keep trying.
How often do you get back to Peru? I suppose that this is from a staffing standpoint, you have to constantly build the network of talent. And so I'm guessing the family members are doing that while they're there, but how often do you get back to Peru, and how do you continue to expand the circle of qualified people that you can staff?
Yeah, I go at least once a year. We were just there February and March. I actually did get married in Peru with my Norfolkian wife in March. So I was just there, but we go at least once a year. Our staff is like our internal staff is based in Peru as well. So we have them doing a lot of like networking events, then going out and basically talking to talent constantly. Our head recruiter is also based out of Peru. So we have talent there. We have our staff there, and by the way, when I say we, it's my brother and I, who we run the company together. We go at least once a year.
How does that work in terms of I don't know what the proper term is in Peru, but do you W-2 them, and then like do you continuously educate them so that they're up to date on trends, or like teaching them AI, or how do you keep them on top of their game so that they're an immediate fit in the US?
Yeah, we have an HR department. So like when it comes to, I don't know, resume workshops, or like meeting with them and then letting them know about, how to socially interact with American customers, training them on like doing property management seminars. We haven't been diving deep in the AI segment, but we have definitely like training sessions, seminars that will help them sort of be a good placement for a property management client, or whether it's a software development company. So we have done a lot of that work, but usually we do it post hiring. So like they will already come with some of that experience, and my client might say, hey, Juan needs a little more training on maintenance coordination. He doesn't understand what's an emergency versus what's not an emergency. He deploys the plumber immediately. So then we jump on a seminar and say, hey, like if the basement is flooding, you need to shut off the main valve. So like that's the type of training that we offer our talent. But that's very rare, because for the most part, they're going to come with that experience already when they're already placed.
Okay, so you said you don't do a lot in AI right now, but a lot of what I think you've described as the work that you guys are doing is a lot of admin work. A lot of people talk about the robots taking over a lot of admin work. Are you creating a business that's going to be destroyed by the robots, or like how do you go about that? Like how do you think through that? Knowing that the world is such it just seems like on LinkedIn that's the only thing you see. It's just a constant scroll of like not even just AI generate content, but just like AI robot focused content. I mean, what are your just thoughts overall on the robots?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hybrid solution. I had a chance to speak with Melissa Selcher. She's actually was the CMO of LinkedIn a couple of years ago. I taught her son, business entrepreneurship in Tokyo a couple of years ago. But long story short, she said, anything you think about AI and robots, whatever you want to call it, that you think is going to happen in 10 years, it's actually going to happen in 2 to 3 years. So that got me worried, per se, like, because you're right, a lot of the stuff that we do is admin, customer service, but we also do a lot of high level stuff like accounting, bookkeeping. So I ended up testing something called Vendoroo. They are essentially a robot maintenance coordinator. And if you can call them, and it's going to sound like a person, like literally it's going to try to troubleshoot a lot of the stuff that maybe a person could do. So my opinion on AI and how it works with remote workers or local workers for this matter is that it's going to be a hybrid solution where the initial call, troubleshooting, all of that is going to be done by AI, but it will still need a person until a point where AI is able to like learn the policies, be better. So my thought process is, if you were requiring 3 admins in 2015, by 2028, 29, you'll probably just need 1 with the support of AI, because a lot of that troubleshooting or a lot of that, lease drafting is going to be done by AI.
This is a 2-time streak that he doesn't even realize he's never done this before. Tim, is he mad at himself?
He's disappointed, I think.
Yeah, I just give up, man. I mean, it's just like I on the flip side though, I feel good about myself when I'm able to mute the mic in time when I hear the jets flying over, and like the mic picks it up and it was like, it says you're muted because the jets are so loud.
Have you ever clicked the button on StreamYard when you log in and it says reduce background noise?
I don't remember. Yeah, sure.
Next week when you jump on, let's do that. I know it, like, because I've driven down the road in my Jeep, top off, and people think they don't hear a damn thing. Nothing. The Jeep top off, windows down, like, yes. Actually, I feel like I was power washing one day, and I was talking to my mom, and she couldn't hear the damn power washer. So it is possible.
100%. Actually, I was just having this conversation with a client, and I was like, "Hey, sorry about the airplane in the background." It's like, I can't hear anything. And the new phones, it just literally like segregate, like I don't think segregate is the word, but they mute the background noise or whatever. And there's an option to do it on your iPhone. So
yeah, and I think that, well, Zach and I use a third-party external mic that, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to dig around in the settings and see what that looks like. But yeah, I think that's a record, Zach. Two times in one show. That's it's embarrassing.
Let's go for 3, baby.
We can't rule it out. We have 17 more minutes before we start to wrap up the show.
So companies, I think, are hesitant to outsource at this point because of all the nightmares that they've heard. What are some of the common pitfalls that they could eliminate if they were to be a little more proactive in the upfront aspect of it? Like, so if someone comes up to you and they say, okay, I have all these red flags, what are those red flags and what can they do to prevent them so that it would be a success working with you?
Yeah. So to sort of address your first point, I think that the companies that are, that they understand remote staffing, they are way ahead of the game. They've been doing this for 5 to 10 plus years, like big accounting firms, big bookkeeping firms. They know the value. Big property management companies, Bay Management Group is one of them. They have like 7,000 units. They've been doing Mexico staffing for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. Some of the quote unquote red flags that a client would, put front is like, okay, well, how can it be successful if my employee is, or my remote worker is in Peru? And first and foremost is make them feel part of the team. Don't make them feel part of a third party provider. Like you want to have them feel like they're part of your ABC construction company. And the second thing is training. So I think obviously the remote, so there's that geography barrier, so they're not next to you, right? But that, I would say that a lot of folks that learned through COVID that is very doable. So training is very important. Make sure that initially you invest a lot of hours training them with not just your systems and your procedures and your SOPs and whatever, but also company culture. Like, this is what we do. These are the stand-up meetings that we have. Keep them engaged. Make sure that they are joining the meetings. Make sure that what are the objectives. Also incentives. Like if they are in a position where they're, let's say, a property manager, they're managing 150 properties, you put forth something like, okay, well, if your properties do well, I'll give you 1% of the revenue share. And that goes a very long way in places like Peru and Mexico, and they stay motivated. So just the same way you would treat a US based employee is how you should go by treating your remote worker. And in order to eliminate the geography barrier per se, is keeping them engaged with training, with incentives, with cultural trainings, and we do a lot of that for our clients as well when it comes to HR, like birthday gifts, turkey during Christmas, like sending them flowers. It's something happened in their life. So we're already supporting our clients that are on the smaller end to like help them with that retention and the HR management of our employees.
Zach, I hit the setting. Now we will have no jets, so we will not be able to test this out. Just want to throw that in.
But you're not on mute.
No, I'm not going to. I will not mute the rest of the show testing this out.
There we go.
See, we're making strides here. It is May 29th, 2025, episode 263.
Yeah.
I just want to say congratulations, Mr. Ryan. Kudos to you for being an innovator in the...
I'm sorry, Ravi, that you had to experience all of this amateur behavior.
Yeah, you know, who's the rookie now?
Yeah, it's my first podcast.
Were you nervous on your first podcast, Tim? First time
I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was.
Had you done a video interview? No. Okay, so when I interviewed you for Hampton Roads Business Weekly, when I had the TV show on ABC.
Well, I think that when you bring big cameras out, I think that's a whole different thing.
So yeah, I know you were nervous.
Oh yeah.
It is.
Yeah, like there's just something psychologically when you see the tripods being set up and the cameras getting put on it, and then you're untucking your shirt and miking yourself up and all that stuff. I mean, there's just something about when that goes on, like it just turns something in your brain. Like, all right, this is more than just a casual conversation, although you should treat it as such.
I guess so.
But it's just like knocking on doors. You got to keep on doing it, and then have you ever
been live on TV before, Tim?
I don't know.
Oh boy.
Why is that? What's the happy dance about?
Because you're going live on TV next week.
Wow.
You know what? Yeah. I think, I don't know. I have to rethink this. I've done, I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah, we will be live next week. How about that?
Congrats, guys.
All it takes is just a little bit of hard work.
Just a little bit.
So what's on?
Yeah.
What's on tap for Norfolk? You landed here. You have a great view. How are you going to take over Norfolk?
Little by little. I think I'm just keep meeting people, going out for coffees and lunches, and showing them how we can provide value, and it's worked so far. Ultimately, we just want to make sure that the people we work with are happy, and then they understand the value that we provide, and then they can grow their business in a sustainable way, and that the folks that we bring on for them are also happy. So to answer your question, I think that little by little, meeting as many people as we can, and letting them know what we do is what I think I'm going to be doing here in the next couple of years.
Think you're going to be here the long term?
Yes, at least part-time, just because her family's here. We're definitely going to keep this house because we love it. But ultimately, I'd probably end up in Spain or in Latin America, just closer to the staff, where there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done legally. So it does require me for the next 10 years to be in Latin. Latin America is tough. You have to know your ways around. You need to be very well connected, especially in Peru, especially in a city like Lima. So you need to be down there face to face. A lot of stuff needs to be done face to face, especially paperwork, healthcare, payroll, stuff like that needs to be done. Unfortunately, still face to face.
How does one learn 7 languages?
Luck, and right time, right place, basically. Really, I grew up in an Indian family in Peru that had migrated to Peru in the 80s, so I learned Hindi, but we're of Sindhi descent, so I also learned Sindhi through my family, and I don't know how to read or write those 2 languages. So Hindi and Sindhi were just because my family in Peru is Spanish, obviously, because I grew up in Peru. In Peru, I went to a British school, which was very rigid and very strict. A lot of them were British nationals that were like either former Royal Marines and whatnot. So I learned English through them, and they also made you learn another language. So I learned French, and then on my own, I've lived in Brazil for a little bit, so I learned Portuguese. So I don't know. It's that. Yeah, that's basically it.
How old are you?
36. I almost said 29.
Oh.
I don't know why. 36.
Wow. What was the most difficult language for you to pick up?
French, because I learned it later on, and it's just hard to write, and I've sort of haven't been practicing it. So like now when I will go to France, it's just a little bit tougher. Like they can immediately tell that I'm a Spanish speaker, and they just default to Spanish. It's incredible. They I don't know how they can do it. They're like within 2 seconds, oh, you're a Spanish speaker. I need to practice my Spanish. I'm like, that defeats the purpose. Like
Right.
Yeah.
It's your name tag.
Back in my previous life, I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in Germany,
Wow.
and then like immediately the Germans, it's like we would want to practice our German, but the Germans would immediately understand that we were American, so then they would shift over to English, and it's just like, no, but yeah, we want to learn German.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same, And then I've lived in Granada, so southern Spain, for 2 years, and they think they speak Spanish, but holy cow, they speak. I for the first 2 weeks, I'm like, am I going crazy? Like I'm a native Spanish speaker. What are you saying? Like they seem rough and fast and this, and then it's just how they speak, and it almost sounds like Arabic because they were, obviously they were conquered by the Moorish Empire for so long.
Man,
what's something we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I think we covered everything. I think that I want to just sort of convey that the folks that we work with, the clients that are able to give us an opportunity, like the people that we employ, are very grateful, and that they are. If it wasn't for my remote workers with my property management company, I don't know what I would do, to be quite honest. Like I couldn't afford I have 3 field officers that obviously are US based, but 10 remote workers. It's sort of the perfect blend has allowed me to have the lifestyle that I'm currently leading. So that's really what I wanted to convey during this conversation. I think that it's important for people to know that this is very much a really good solution for anybody trying to gain back some of their time or augment their capacity of bringing on more clients or just giving better service. If I had the ability to show you a few videos, I'll probably email them to you. It's impressive what this younger 27, 28-year-olds are doing in Latin America, and they sound just like anyone one of us here on this call.
What does the RS stand for in RS Global Staffing Solutions?
Yeah, terrible mistake. Ravi and Sunny. We just didn't.
I figured it was that, but then I was like, wait, what's your last name? And then I remembered your brother.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, terrible mistake. Never put your name on. My property management company is Sungate Property Management. The thing is, I was in Mexico and I had the Maryland Rent Court calling me. It said, Dana, this is a third-party provider of failure to pay rent. And he's like, where is Diego from? And how can you find me someone like this? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I need an assistant. And I just can't seem to find anybody. And that's sort of willing to work. And I'm like, oh no, they're based out of Peru. And he's like, well, how about you find me somebody and I pay you and you sort of handle it. And that's when I called my brother. It's like, hey, I'm changing my flight. I'm going to Peru. And we had to come up with a name in like 15 hours. So like I had incorporated in Maryland, do that. And I was like, oh, F it. We're going to say RS Consulting Services, because we didn't even know like where this was going to go. It was going to go. And, we should have called it something else, to be quite honest. But that
is such a challenging exercise. To get domain names, is the domain name available, and then all the social platforms available as well, so that it's just that whole process is just I can't stand.
Well, then when they're available, but they're $1 million to acquire,
right?
Yeah.
So as a barista, like what did you make on your coffee today?
I always do a flat white, so 18 grams of coffee, ground, and 36 yield, very exact. And then I froth a little bit of milk and just dump it on it.
Well, this is
Okay.
next level stuff here.
So he should have said 8 languages.
Oh, the coffee language. I'm not that good yet. So the guys at Coalescence or Modita or any of the folks here do a much better job than I do. But it definitely has.
How did you dial into those numbers?
YouTube. I just taught myself, and that was a rule of thumb. And that's a good term for coffee, because dialing it in is basically what you do with a new batch of beans. So it's an art, like, because if the beans get older, your extract becomes faster. So you need to adjust your grind size. It's wild. I mean, the coffee world is like limitless. Like, you can learn so much about it.
I was once a barista back in the day, long ago.
Wow. Okay.
I was.
Where?
Where's the real story about this? What?
No, that's super true. I was back referencing the Air Force again. When I was stationed in Grand Forks, I had a lot of free time on my hand, and I did that part time.
Wow. Like an independent owned coffee shop, or
it was a kiosk in the mall.
Wow.
And so I would do that. My schedule, I had every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, so I knew that I was going to have those days off. So worked a couple hours as a barista.
So as a barista at a coffee shop in the mall, at the little kiosk that you would walk by, a lot of the people that are employed at those kiosks are similar to the door-to-door salesman, where you just want to like skirt away from them.
Oh, I never, dude.
Were you like that there?
No, I would never pester anybody.
Okay.
It's like, if you want to call, it's not like I was trying to sell perfume or.
I just know that you have a tendency at Costco to lie to the kiosk people there.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if we were doing that as you were Tim the barista.
I was a hustler. I still am a hustler.
Could you do the heart?
No, that was so early back in those days. That kind of stuff wasn't even established back then. It was, it was very early days. This was
YouTube,
like 96,
was YouTube around
97.
then? Yeah, so probably
96, 97 is when I did this. So
probably not. YouTube was like early 2000s.
Yeah, you want a single shot, a double shot. It was like a latte, a mocha. Like it was before things got super fancy.
Yeah.
Now you're a barista of Orange Crushes.
That's right.
Probably a better drink.
I dig it. What speaking of that, what is, like, now that you've been in the Hampton Roads area in Norfolk, where's your favorite place? You and the wife want to go out on a Friday night or whatever. Where's your favorite place to go?
Look, I spent a bunch of sorry to cut you off. I spent a bunch of time in Japan a couple of years ago with her and without her, and I tell you, there's not a better ramen in the world than Alkaline.
Mm-hmm.
It's the curry chicken ramen. I mean, every time I don't know if you watch Breaking Bad, but you know how when Tuco does the whole, snorting of the meth? That's how I feel when I eat that thing. It's just like, I go crazy on it. It's insane. I would say that's maybe my favorite ramen in the world. So
really?
Alkaline, to answer your question. And then you've got Cape. We love Asian food. So I think that she lived in Thailand for 3 years, and I've been all over Asia. But I think that Thai food is really good here. There are a few restaurants that are good. But the K-pot on Military Highway, like K-pot with like Korean barbecue, can't beat it.
Have you been to Stockpot in
on the list?
Arcade?
On the list. A buddy of mine shared like places to go in Norfolk, says on the list.
Okay, so they do. The Alkaline, I believe, started out of Pendulum, which is the meat shop down the street. I don't know if you've been there yet, the butcher. I've not been to Alkaline because I believe they prepare it in something that I'm allergic to.
Like what?
Seafood.
I don't think so.
I think the broth has something in it. I feel like I've looked before. I will look again, add it to the list if possible. If not, apologies. But I mean, that was a great example that you used. Breaking Bad and meth.
I mean, it's addicting, guys. Like I go there once a week religiously. I'm going there tomorrow with the folks from DC Rap. I mean, that's my place.
There you go. You get your little punch card.
I don't. I wish they did one. I have one for Coalescence though. I used to go there almost every day.
Yeah, bring back the punch card, people. Come on, we can digitize it too. Whatever version is necessary. Let's do it. But
You gotta ask for it. That's all you gotta do. They have it. They really do. Almost every place does, especially if it's coffee. They do it. It's just.
It does seem like because so the reason we asked this as the last question is just we really want to identify like what is the food of the region, and really it seems so cliche, but it really we are our own little micro melting pot because of the Navy, Air Force, the military population, and like a lot of things have been brought here. So we're not like a melting pot in terms of like DC, New York City, where like you can go and get a big concentration of different things, but we are a very much a micro melting pot of different ethnic foods. It seems. What would you bring from if you had to start a restaurant from Peru? What would you bring?
Peruvian Japanese food. I mean, Peru is Lima is the food capital of the world. I mean, 12 years straight. I mean, it's just, you can't beat, like, but Peruvian Japanese food, especially, is called Nikkei. Like, it will blow your mind. It's just.
Is it Breaking Bad meth good?
More. I don't know what that is. I don't have a TV show example for that, but I wish I could link The Wire to it somehow. But no, yeah, it's Peruvian Japanese food is just outstanding.
There you go.
Maybe that's your next venture.
Tough business, though.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah,
Robbie, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Continued success.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for watching.
This was great. Yeah, no, thank you so much. It was great chatting, and hopefully we'll meet soon.
Absolutely.